Something big happened in Australian politics this week. The Liberal Party grew a spine. Well, some MPs did. Some remained as deluded and gutless as ever, and others are just spineless political opportunists who sway with the wind to save their careers. Watch out for those ones. They're the worst. But in short, the Liberal Party has now joined the National Party in formally abandoning a net zero target. Liberal frontbenchers met for more than 3 hours on Thursday. They concluded that they would promise to stay in the Paris Agreement and set interim emission reduction targets, but they would not commit Australia to any net zero target in the long term. One Nation leader, Pauline Hanson, says trying to keep a commitment to the Paris Agreement while dumping net zero is a con job. She says One Nation is united on both. The coalition never will be, and that One Nation backs a clear policy that supports Australian families and businesses for lower power prices and better energy security. So what exactly does net zero mean anyway? Well, net zero means reaching carbon neutrality. Okay, what is carbon neutrality? It means balancing the amount of greenhouse gases emitted into the atmosphere with the amount removed from it. So you can still produce emissions, but you've got to offset them by removing or absorbing an equal amount. Now, Australia has vast forests and natural carbon sinks. It's not carbon neutral overall, but almost. Now, we like numbers on this show because numbers do not lie most of the time. So what are the numbers? Bureau of Meteorology data says that Australia emits about 450 million metric tons of carbon dioxide on average each year. And our forests absorb around 350 of it, 350 million tons. So we're still 100 million in the red, so to speak. So let's say that you believe that global warming is caused primarily by man-made CO2. That is the scientific consensus. That's true. Most scientists do believe that. There are still many people, of course, yes, even scientists who do not believe that. But let's say that they're right. And let's assume for argument's sake that it is as bad as some experts say, and it is so bad that we do need to reduce that 100 million tonnes down to zero. What impact will that have on the world and on climate change? How does our 100 million here in Australia compare with other countries? Well, China produces about 12,000 million tonnes a year of CO2. 12,000 million tonnes. And it only has an absorption of 1,000 million tonnes. So they are 11,000 million in the red. That's 110 times us. India has about 2.5 thousand million in net emissions, so 25 times us. America is 50 times us. You get the picture? We go net zero, it has no effect. So we don't owe the world anything. We're absorbing almost all that we're producing. And we won't have any impact on global warming by cutting to net zero. But it will cause massive pain for many people. It's the job of politicians to make good decisions for Australia. And abandoning the ridiculously useless net zero Paris targets is the right thing to do for Australia. To not do it means we're putting ourselves at very serious risk of very damaging economic effects. And in case we have a couple of lefties watching who think that economics is a dirty word because it relates to money and we shouldn't worry about money because money is evil, let me just translate that for you into touchy-feely kindness and compassion speak. This week, we also learned that some people are waiting 6 years to see a medical specialist under our public healthcare system. That's because there's no money left. So economic health matters. Economic health of our country is our human health. And 99% of right-wing people care about the economic health of our nation because we care about humans. Net zero also puts us at massive risk in terms of national defence by weakening our energy independence and security, our manufacturing capabilities, and our productivity. So make sure you understand, net zero isn't neutral. Carbon neutral is not human and health neutral. It's bad. It's a human and health negative. And so we must not do it unless there is huge benefit. And there isn't. And this brings me to my main point. Something big happened in Australian politics this week, and it wasn't just about net zero. By standing up to the left on this issue, the right has hopefully learned a big lesson that's going to help it in dealing with many other controversial issues, especially hopefully those gutless weakings on the moderate or wet side of the Liberal Party who always cave in to the children emotionally screeching on the left. The lesson is this, that sometimes mum and dad and grown-ups in the room, if you actually just stand up to the screaming, screeching, bratty teenagers and children and simply say, no, you learn that there's nothing that they can do except throw a big tantrum. I don't know if you watched the coverage of Susan Lee making the announcement about the decision to abolish net zero as policy on Thursday. But the little lovies on the news desk at the ABC and the reporters in the room from the Canberra Press Gallery just couldn't comprehend it. It just didn't compute in their dear little brains that the grown-up half of the country is saying no. Susan Lee and her shadow Minister for Energy and Emissions Reduction, Dan Tehan, fronted the Canberra Press Gallery. Instead of putting the focus on the politicians in this clip that I'm going to show you, though, I want you to enjoy a little compilation of the efforts of our journalists. It's been many years since I've sat at a press conference as a journalist, and it's always very enlightening. Enjoy.
Thank you, Ms. Lee.
For the last question.
You said you're staying in Paris. Can you just explain your understanding of how that relates to the current national NDC? Have you got advice, some other explanation for why you can ignore that target, those numbers for 2030 and 2035? Will you scrap those numbers when you get in?
The Paris Agreement requires targets to be set and for them to progress on previous targets. It doesn't allow backsliding. How can you say you're committed to the Paris Agreement? Surely your plan is in breach of Australia's obligations.
Well, our policy will always be in the interests of affordable energy for Australian households. And I'm not going to say there's some detail in an international agreement that prevents us doing what we know we need to be doing for Australians.
Can you just explain how you will guarantee emissions will fall when you're building the most polluting elements of the economy and you're creating new ones?
Or you were committed to genuine emissions reduction. Is that a goal, and can you quantify that at all and tell Australians what success when it comes to genuine emissions reductions looks like for a coalition government?
So our commitment is that we will reduce emissions on average year on year. And I can point to our record in government. That's what we did then. And we will do that in line, doing our fair share with comparable countries. And we'll do it as far and as fast as technologies will allow. So that's our three commitments. Just moving on to Karen. Hang on, we are going around. So
you said you want a greater proportion of base load power in the energy grid. Now, we already hit minimum operating demand because of the penetration of rooftop solar. So if you want more coal-fired base load power in the system, you'll have to tell households to turn off their rooftop solar.
So what your question shows quite clearly is what an abject failure the government's approach has been.
if energy is unaffordable, everything is unaffordable.
Ms. Lee, if you win the election in May 2028, when will that mum with small kids open her power bill and see it lower? When?
Well, I can 100% guarantee that energy prices, power bills will be lower under us.
So in the coming years, when Australians are counting the cost of fires and floods and other natural disasters, is your response going to be to them, don't worry, we just did our share? And to Dan Tehan, what is AEMO, the CSIRO Treasury, getting wrong when they repeatedly say that renewables will ultimately be the cheapest form of energy?
I'll simply say, Claire, that don't believe any forecasts this government gives you because they can't answer your basic questions on what it will cost to provide the 2035 emissions reduction targets.
Ah, the wonders of the Australian mainstream media, our Canberra press gallery there. And when Greens Senator Sarah Hanson-Young spoke, the shock was even more apparent. She demanded the Labor government stop making deals on environmental legislation with the coalition. She said the policy was worse even than Scott Morrison's. She fibbed about the science again, saying the Liberal Party have made it clear that they don't accept the science. She misled about the Liberals' intentions, saying they don't care about the need to protect our environment for future generations. The usual emotional nonsense that's just plain false. She then tried to say that leaving net zero won't cut power bills, but it will hike taxes and living costs for everyday Australians. I'm really not sure how she works that one out. And she rolled out all the usual ill-informed, misleading and bratty name-calling that we're now so immune to and tired of, calling the coalition anti-science, anti-environment. The Liberals have torched what little environmental credibility they had left, she said. Oh, please. The Greens stopped being an environmentally credible party decades ago when they turned into a radical far-left mob of socialists pretending to be green. You don't have a monopoly on the science. The science is not completely settled. There is a consensus. But most Aussies are fed up with your nonsense, and we are not going to let you shout and tantrum your way into wrecking our economy. Sorry, Sarah Hanson-Young, the game is up. She said that Labor had to choose between polluters, loggers and the environment wreckers. or to truly protect nature and negotiate with the Greens? Oh my God. It was like, what? What do you mean no? Nobody's ever said no to me before. I always get what I want. I can scream and get really mad and call you mean, nasty names and throw a tantrum and slam my bedroom door really hard if you don't do what I demand, Mum and Dad. Well, Mum and Dad have finally realised they can say no to the little brats that have been controlling so much of Australia's cultural and political direction in the past couple of decades. So this is a lesson and an awakening for the Liberals, and one that I hope they take seriously and learn the bigger lesson from and apply to other traditionally Liberal Party conservative-leaning policies on controversial issues. It's okay to say no to the screeching children. Not only will you survive, you might even find you get stronger. SmartKits Australia is a leading supplier of prefabricated home improvement kits, so you can do it yourself, save money and hassle. SmartKits Australia is the easiest way to improve your home and build memories that last forever. Buy online, customize your way, get it built. That's the SmartKits way. Decks, patios, pergolas, flyover roofs, carports, and insulated roofing, all prefabricated, fully engineered, and delivered anywhere in Australia. You can choose from hundreds of pre-designed SmartKits on their website, or you can go custom with SmartKits' in-house design team. Every kit is engineered tough, packed smart, and delivered free anywhere in Australia. And don't worry if you're not so handy. If you need it installed, they can do that too. Their licensed builder network can get you started even faster. It's up to you. So save thousands on your own 100% Australian-made smart kit. Build your own outdoor lifestyles with SmartKits Australia. SmartKits.com.au, a proud sponsor of The Other Side. That was a segment clip from our weekly Friday night news show, The Other Side, which you can watch in full by simply going to YouTube and searching up The Other Side Australia. Then you'll find our full shows playlist. You can also find all of our full shows and our segments on our own website, othersidetv.com.au. That's othersidetv.com.au. Help us build a whole new Aussie media by joining us over there and signing up for the exclusive side.